Hey, what's up? Silas here. So this is going to be a little video about LeBron James, who's the world's best basketball player currently alive. He just signed a deal to move to the Los Angeles Lakers. And there's going to be some thoughts on it. And I like making things political. I think politics are involved all over the world. You might not care about politics, but politics sure as hell cares about you. So some political angles on this and some thoughts about just the general thing with this. And first of all, I'll send out my congratulations to the man, LeBron James. I may disagree with some of the things he does politically or some of the things he said, but I've had a couple of videos talking about how I think he is a good example and how I think sports in general is something that we can learn from. We can see sports and we can see what people do out there, and it's a very public thing. And if you can learn, whenever you can learn from something, educate yourself, whenever something can teach you something, I think that's a positive. Knowledge is a positive, and I think he's done a lot for that. He's shown people, and his just daily life and experience is a learning opportunity for a lot of people. Okay, so again, congratulations to the man and his dedication to his craft, his past success, and surely future glory. So I'm a below average fan of basketball, of the NBA, and I tend to only have interest in watching the playoffs themselves and following the playoffs, or I don't actually go and watch games, but I'll keep track with it, and then if there's games on I can get access to it, I'll probably watch maybe a game or two of the playoffs. Of course, as it gets closer and closer to the finals, I'll watch it more. And this is part of because I do appreciate competition and the results of competition. And I've played sports competitively in high school and college, and played some after, but not so much, not in the capacity of an organized team and things, but having some knowledge of the amount of practice and effort it goes into it, and then the skill that goes out there, the coaching, the planning, all the money involved, like the stats. It's really an amazing thing to see all those things come together and then be decided on the court, or all the other things that took part in getting those things on the court. It's something that I find to be spectacle in a positive way and kind of inspirational and things like that. And I can barely or somewhat try to imagine being a part of something like that. But yeah, it's something that I think is a good thing. And I like seeing this across the fields. Whenever you have people at the top of what they do in any field, and then you have something like the National Basketball Association, which is a rather internationally played sport. They've gone into jobs, they're doing recruiting. So when you see the finals, when you see those teams out there, and you see these 11 people on each side or things like that, that is a time to witness possibly the top 100 or so people at whatever they've chosen to do in the world doing that thing. And even on just that level, you can appreciate that. If I was able to maybe go to the top tech company and witness how they actually code and things like that, I'd probably still have some kind of amazement to that. That's something that I just in general just appreciate, and I think humans innately have an appreciation for excellence and that kind of effort. So I also have enough awareness and childhood memories from living in the United States of America, and not even just the United States of America, because I was talking about this like globalized sport now. This thing has been going out to have the idea that a Lakers versus Celtics championship. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen next year. I don't know if Kyrie Irving is going to stay, but let's get into that. LeBron versus Kyrie. They used to be teammates in Cleveland. Kyrie went to Boston. He might be traded to New York, but I think if they stay together and then they can get in, this year that I'm recording this, LeBron James almost lost to a Boston Celtics team that didn't even have Kyrie Irving playing on it. Although if they actually end up getting in there, you can imagine this finals. Lakers versus Celtics. LeBron versus Kyrie. The warm southwest glitz of the Los Angeles Lakers versus the cold northeast grit of the Boston Celtics. These storied franchises going back to like Larry Bird versus Magic and things like this. This is a great storyline for, I think, the public, both just the general public and also the people who really do love basketball. It's good for the league, and whenever people prosper, I don't really have a problem with people prospering, as long as they're not prospering at my expense. Like the NBA doing better is not necessarily going to directly harm me. And with that whole situation, I've talked about that Southwest glitz versus the Northeast grit. We're going to get into that now, because moving on to the second part, it both humanizes LeBron and diminishes his political reach. And if this was on my mind and I mean, I think he has enough of the people around him to have made this calculation and gotten to the point where he agrees there's some trade-offs. Life has trade-offs. And I think he considered it, and he decided, as many of us do on a daily basis, to take personal gain over attempting to have social political change. Not too many people actually choose to enter political fields and become quote unquote public service, enter the public service, become a civil servant, even if that's actually what they actually want to do. Not that I'm stating that the states and the way governments are around the world actually do accomplish this, but I think I won't say majority, but many people, a significant amount of people who enter politics do it because they truly think this is something that's going to benefit both me in my life, of course, but the general public in general. But I think people who excel at the top of their fields, it's normally a situation where the best people enter the private sector, follow other kind of means because they understand they can actually do even more. And a lot of people will enter government who are these kind of capable people and be like, wait, I think I'm going to actually go do something else instead because I can actually do more if I'm not in the constraints of this. And also, I think when you're in that kind of system, in the public sector, the way the governments are organized around the world, there's a lot of situations where it's hard to let go of the dead weight. For a simple example is you start something, there's a program that started, that program doesn't work. It's hard to fire those people because they're contracted on. So instead of firing those 10 people who are not doing the job, you add a new department with 10 more people, but you keep those other 10 and you kind of shift them across. But now those 10 people are still dragging down the actual productivity of those new 10 people that you've brought in. So now you're getting 20 people being paid and getting maybe only 75% of the initial job that was supposed to be done because those initial 10 people you paid were only doing 25%. And those next people you brought in, even if they're more capable, they have to undo the work that those initial 10 are doing. And then so you can only get up to 50. So yeah, it's a bit of a digression, but that's some of the explanation. Whereas in the private sector, like an NBA team, you get in that situation, somebody comes in, you fire the other people, you're not working, we're going to fire you, we're going to bring in new people. That's the kind of situation in the private sector. It's a lot easier for that to happen. So anyway, coming back to this thing, it isn't inherently negative to do this. We do it on a daily basis. How many people in their lives just make the decision like, if I go to my office space, I'm not going to speak about politics. Even if there's a situation I think the West is in danger. Oh, I think the white race is being challenged by this because of open borders. How many people who think some of these things, oh, I think Trump is a Nazi. Okay, the Trump is a Nazi thing. I think people are a lot more open about that at their workplaces. But just in general, how many things do you decide at my workplace where I'm getting money for my own sustenance, my own life, for advancing my own career? I'm not going to go out and be very political. I'm not going to talk about political issues here. This is my workplace. I'm going to focus on getting enough money so my kids can go to school. I can help my mom do XYZ. In the future, I can get an Xbox. I can have this level of comfort. How many people choose personal comfort and gain over an apparent or believed political, socio-political, making a social political stand on something? And this is what I'm thinking with this. With LeBron James, with this move to LA, he will now have the ability to continue his well-earned climb into becoming a billionaire. His media projects, he has a couple of media industries or studios or things like that. I think studios, what's what you call them? Yeah, something like that. His media projects will get a very noticeable boost by being in LA. And he'll cement himself even deeper to the pop psyche, to the popular cultural psyche of a now globalized culture. As he becomes more of a celebrity, he will continue to be harder to be relatable to, though. Like, it's evidenced by that whole trope of Jenny from the block. Like, why does J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez, as she gets more and more successful, coming from the Bronx and whatnot, getting up, I think she went to In Living Color, she was like a dancer on In Living Color, this sketch comedy show. She got, I think, popular with acting in this movie, Selena. And as she got higher and higher, then there's a time she was like, I'm still Jenny from the block. And that whole thing, people also do a lot. They're like, look, yes, I know I'm this great celebrity, but I'm kind of like you. We can still relate. Like, yeah. I'm like, no, you're not. You're from the block. But Jenny from the block is different than Jenny in the block, Jenny on the block. So LeBron will always be from Akron. And this one thing they've been talking about the Cleveland. Oh, he's from Cleveland. No, he's from Akron, which is close to Cleveland. And some people were pointing this out in this whole thing. Oh, he's going to stay in Cleveland. His family is tied to it. No, his family, he personally is from Akron, which isn't Cleveland. And this is one thing people don't get. Already, there's a difference between Akron and Cleveland. Being a smaller city in a Midwest kind of town versus Cleveland, which, as I've pointed this out, if you're in these bigger cities, it's not too much different. But then when you go to LA, the New Yorks, the Miamis, these massive mega cities, it's a whole different type of mentality. It's a whole different type of idea. So LeBron will always be from Akron. He'll always be from Ohio. But his profile changes if people can relate more to the Akron life, to that Midwest life, actually see him from the Midwest, talking to them from the Midwest. He's like, yeah, look, he lives where I am. He is from where I am. Versus the LA life can see him. And this is another thing with sports. I've been wondering about this. There was a time somebody was talking about the Golden State Warriors, and somebody had commented about how they're from Silicon Valley and things like that, San Francisco. And someone was like, oh no, man, they're from Oakland. Like the Oracle Arena is in Oakland. And that's one thing I was kind of wondering, like, where do people consider themselves to be from? I have moved around a lot, so for my situation, it's kind of different. But are you from where you play? The person was saying, I think that person was from Oakland, and he was saying, oh, the stadium is in Oakland. But Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, these people who are like Andre Iguodala, who's the other guy? Draymond Green, and most of the players from these professional teams don't live in Oakland. First of all, most of them weren't born in the area. They were born in other places, but they don't live in Oakland. They may play in Oakland, but are you from where your office is? If you moved to another country to work in that place, are you from that place automatically? How does it change how much you're from the place? So now with like LeBron, just having him be in LA, playing in LA, and yes, he has 2 homes there now. His kids will continue to grow up there. His family is probably going to be based and settled in Los Angeles. I don't imagine him moving back. He might move back after his kids graduate because I think from the things that I've seen about him, he seems to really care about people. I think he's completely misguided in his political stances and things, but that's partially because his life has put him in such a position where he just can't really relate to your everyday life. But he's taking from the memories that he's had as a kid and he's trying to put it in the lens that he sees the world in and the effect that he could possibly have, that people are talking to him, and he's trying to help the world, but I don't think he's in a position where he can truly understand some of these things. And I'm not in a position where I can truly understand all these things. I understand that from being on the outside of a lot of things that might be considered average life gives me a different point of view, and I constantly try to see how do other people see these things, what kind of angle are you seeing from, and I'm always open to you guys to tell me like I'm completely off. Like anything I'm talking about in this video, please tell me if I'm completely off point on these things. But anyway, so where were we with this? Okay, so back to the LA life, back to that kind of thing. Will people see him as somebody in LA? Will he be able to be like, okay, after he's done this, he's done, he's retired, okay, I'm going to go back to Akron and continue all the projects and things that are still there? Because the world is getting more globalized. I was talking about this with one of my friends. He's more left-leaning. I am definitely a lot more conservative on the right politically. And we were talking about globalization, how we both agree, because on the right, a lot of the people on the right are like, globalization, such a negative term, such a terrible thing. No, for me, the world is globalized. But I think the best way for the world to be globalized is through as much of a free market as possible, as much of a capitalist system as possible, as little coercion as possible, because it is a win-win situation the more people can actually relate with each other, communicate with each other, trade with each other, and things like that. So we might have disagreements with some of the people I talk to on the left about what globalization should look like, how it should be implemented, how it should be regulated, because there's nothing about free markets that means no regulation. It's just, I don't want the state having the kind of coercive force that it has on these kind of things, manipulating things, where I'd rather have individual people come to these decisions. Okay, so finishing up on the third point into why I was thinking that it's going to actually reduce his political aspirations. Not aspirations, but effect. As I was talking about, if it's LeBron in the block, he can talk about certain things in a certain way. He can probably still relate to people in a different way. People will be able to look at him and be like, look, he actually decided to stay back, stay home, stay in his hometown. He's like a hometown guy like us. And I think he's been trying to reach out. He already has support for people who lean politically on the left. Most of the people who agree with the things he's been saying politically, and now we're talking about these people like the Black Lives Matter people, him talking about things like that, people who are going to be with him, who are going to support him for just him happening to be black, they're going to support him. They're not going to need any convincing. They're not going to need any more relatability. They're not going to need any more reasoning or look at him logically and analyze what he says. As long as he confirms what they say, they're going to be okay with him. Now, there's a chance. Could there be a chance that he has some kind of conservative awakening or just gets to the situation where he's focusing more on the actual details of certain political issues that he speaks about? I don't know. We'll see what he does with his media project. The guy is an intelligent guy. They've definitely discussed that he's one of the smartest basketball players ever, but he's focused so much of his energies towards this. And even somebody with high capacity like he is, I don't think he has the ability to just share and do other things. I'm not trying to say I'm anywhere close to LeBron James, but multitasking is not quite as effective as focusing on one thing. If you focus on one thing, so maybe once his focus on basketball starts reducing, he'll be able to start breaking down what's happening in the other things that he's seen concern for, issues between African American communities, how best like sports can do responsibility and talk to other people, the messaging and things like this, things that he's actually interested in, and he might get to that point where he does that. But as I'm saying, this isn't going to work as an LA Laker. He's in that glitzy position. He's in that position, but he's also doing this for his family. He's also decided that, look, I am doing this for my own benefit. So if he's more on this socialist collectivist saying, oh, we got to do things for everyone, just listen and believe, no. He has proven that, like most people, he will go and do what can gain him the most personally first. He's going to look out for himself. And this is calculated self-interest can also help other people. Because as I said, it is a lot more effective if you are happy trading with somebody and you are happy about that trade. If both parties are benefiting from an action, it is going to result in a more positive action than one party benefiting at the expense of the other. Even if it's not that direct thing, you might personally think that, oh, I'm going to just screw this person over and I'm going to benefit over this person. And in that situation, I completely win. Look, I've taken from this person, let's say you take somebody's vehicle. So I'm going to steal this car. I didn't have to pay this person. I didn't have to do anything. There's a lot of situations of this. You might not be in a situation where you actually can afford the insurance for this car. If you keep the car, then the car can be tracked down, found that it's stolen. You can be thrown in jail. You get into the situation where now if you steal that car and you have to sell that car off to somebody, what kind of people are interested in buying stolen goods, stolen weapons? They're probably shady people. So you're getting yourself into a situation where you're actually getting in touch with even more dangerous people. Now that person who has gotten that car that is stolen, he probably knows you've stolen that car. So he knows, first of all, you're a thief. He can turn you into the authorities. He's not going to give you as much money for that car as if it was just your car, because he understands, where else are you going to sell this car? Who else are you going to take this car to? And it starts a vicious cycle. And even if that's all okay and it's no danger in that situation, even by pissing this person off that you've stolen their car, you've taken something from it, that person can go out negatively and they can get more suspicious or feel more negative towards people, and then there can be a knock-on effect that they treat the next person negatively, that person treats somebody else negatively, that person treats somebody else negatively, and then somewhere down the line, somebody who's knocking down on this karmic effect of treating people negatively could come back and treat you negatively, or somebody you really like might need some help at that time, but that person that you first wronged has knocked on all the way down to make this person in a situation where they don't want to help somebody. So there's that kind of interconnectivity that I see with people that I think exists here. And hey, how did this come to this? This entire talk about LeBron James coming down to all these things. But as I said, I think it has humanized him more to see that, look, he does actions like we do. And this is what I talked about in this video about celebrities, about NBA players. Realize they are human just like us. So we need to listen to them more. I want them to speak more, but we don't need to follow what they say more. Because I think it's good to see that somebody who is able to be as capable at something, as successful at something, because they focused on this and they had some luck and they had these different situations. But they have the kind of lives where we can look at, analyze, and see what are the steps they took to be this way. What are the steps they avoided? What are the things they have overcome to be at where they are? How can one achieve that? Then you can take that and you can say, look, they have all these things, all this success, all this ability, all this power, and they still have these flaws. They still went through these things. So now you apply that to your life and you say, look, I understand that I too have certain struggles. I too may have things that I can succeed at. Sure, I'm not going to be LeBron James just because I do everything LeBron James does, but you can be the LeBron James at something. You can get to a situation where you can be like, look, I understand I have this connection to this one thing. Just like you had a connection to Akron. I have a connection to XYZ or to this X thing. And people are saying, oh, it would be better if you stay here, what if you go there? But then you analyze and you can say that, look, the personal decision for me and the people I care for the most might be better by moving to this location, by changing this thing about my life. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to lose my attachment to X, just like LeBron James isn't going to lose his attachment to Akron. He's not going to lose any of the positive things Akron gave to him, Cleveland gave to him, being in that area gave to him. He's not necessarily going to be afraid of the previous decision he made going down to Miami and getting all that gripe for it and then coming back, winning the championship and then doing this, because just because a decision you made in the past is similar to one you have to make today and that one ended up badly does not necessarily mean your next decision is going to end up badly. You can still get to that point where you convince yourself, you ask people around you, you analyze things and you decide, I'm going to make this change in my life. I'm going to take this next step. So I think that's it for this video. I hope it's made some sense. Let me know if it's kind of made sense, if you agree with that, where I think him as a member of the Hollywood elite of this kind of glitzy class kind of reduces his position to say that, yeah, I know kind of what's going on in your guys' life. It's another thing of an example of a concentration of talent and ability where people are concentrated to these areas in LA. LA, I think, might be one of the spaces that has a really big wealth gap, earnings gap, where the highest, it has, I think, some of the top earning people in the world live in that area, and some of the, like, in at least the world and the country. And then you have a lot of very low income people with the illegal immigration coming in, the lower immigrants and things like that. So you have that kind of spread. You have now Golden State Warriors are there. You have LeBron James over there. You have this concentration of talent. So now when he goes out and he talks about how, oh, certain fields have negative things because, oh, these people seem to be, what's it called? They seem to be using shady memes or racism or holding other people down. That's why this one group seems to have a higher amount of power and talent and ability and success than these other groups. But that's kind of how the world works. There's a bell curve in ability, in talent, in locational things. People who are really good at one thing will be drawn to one area, one location, or a few areas, few locations, and then most of the people will just be average at it, and then like some few people will be like really low at it. It's not some huge conspiracy in the world. This is just how things work. But yeah, so that's one of the things. And then yeah, so what do you guys think? That's it for this video. I was just thinking about these things and getting these thoughts together and decided to put this out. So let me know what you think, and till next video, like, share, and subscribe. Links below to the merchandise store. This video has just been merchandise on the screen, going back and forth. You can get some of these. And if you want to help me out on Patreon, you can do that. You can also follow me on Twitter at Numasalis, which is AGNUMASALIS. And I'll try to post some things in there more. But yeah, till next video, goodbye. Hey, yes, one more thing. To clarify what I was trying to get at the end there. LeBron James may be heard by more people, but hearing somebody's not listening to them. And the people who would use him as a tool will be like, yes, he can actually speak about things that we like. He's saying things that are supporting our political influence and things like that. But he's not going to be able to reach across the aisle in the same way that I think he would if you still had that, oh, I'm still from Akron, I'm still a down-home guy like you guys in the Midwest and the red states. I think this will be like, we'll get him to the point where people look at him more as this, oh, he's this elite East Coaster, he's one of these coaster people who are trying to speak out about what's going on in the flyover states. That will be a lot easier to actually package in that manner and dismiss the things that he has to say. And even by him showing like, look, I have made a decision that's personally better for me above anything else, it'll kind of be harder for him to say like, hey, why don't you guys out there also take away your own personal decisions or your own personal things that you want and make things that are better for everyone else. That makes any sense.